Hi, I'm Theo, and I like skateboards. I also like code. One of those things has made me much more money than the other, but both have required me to pick up very similar skills and mindsets. I want to talk a bit about how skateboarding has made me a better developer and helped me find success as an engineer. If you talk to any skaters, especially those of us who are interested in tricks and pushing the limits of what we can do with our boards, you'll quickly learn that there's a common theme amongst us. We're all weirdly okay with throwing ourselves at the ground. The best skaters aren't the ones who are the most gifted or have the best physical ability. The best skaters are almost always the ones who are the most comfortable with falling and are the best at getting back up after. That means, obviously, resilience, like hitting the ground, not even noticing or acknowledging the pain and getting up and trying again. But a lot of it's also failure techniques and learning how to fail safely so that when you do fail when you're trying to land a trick, you first off don't get hurt, but more importantly, you have the necessary inputs and analysis to figure out what didn't quite go right there, so you can adjust and try again and learn from it. Most skaters take many tries to land tricks. I'm not talking like 10 tries. Most of the time you watch a professional skate video, like a street part, like any of the legends from Andrew Reynolds, Ronnie Mullen, basically anybody. Each trick in that video can take days to film. Sometimes they'll go to a spot, they'll skate it for 4 hours, not land the trick, get kicked out by the police, leave, and then come back a few days later and do it again for another 4 hours. The exact same trick. On top of that, there are so many well-documented instances of specific tricks taking years to be landed. Skaters working and focusing on this impossible seeming task and overanalyzing every little thing that went wrong. One of my favorite instances of this is the skater Jaws, Aaron Jaws Homike. He did an ollie down the Lion 25, the biggest stair set anybody's dared to try and jump down. The first time he tried it, he had one of his few injuries. He actually tore his ACL and NCL on his first attempt. That didn't stop him though. He flew back to France 2 years later, this time with his dad, in case anything went wrong, which is heartbreaking, but also shows how strong these bonds are that power people through this stuff. And it was with the power of knowing he could do it, having his dad there and his team there to support him. And the funniest detail, a stick of deodorant that he used to smooth out the part between the board and the wheel. So like you have the wheel, you have the board. If you land really hard, they hit and it stops the wheel. So he put a bunch of literal deodorant on the wooden part so the wheel would not get stuck when they hit from the sheer force of the wheel bite from landing and hitting the ground. Surreal, the levels of detail that these skaters have to think in order to make stuff happen, but also the levels of support they rely on to do something as scary as jumping down a 2-story stair set and landing on your feet and riding away. I think that his dad being there is just as important as his wheels having deodorant ready. And that's what makes skateboarding. It's this combination of building the support in the networks and the trust in people you need to survive those hard moments where you feel like an utter failure and you don't know what you're doing at all. But you also have the ability to take a step back and realize this isn't your failure sometimes. There are other little small things you can adjust and change to make a trick work that might not have otherwise. I sincerely hope all the developers in the room right now are like, oh shit, that's just programming, because it absolutely is. The defining characteristic of a great programmer is their willingness to fail, be wrong, and learn from it. I have never found a great programmer that wasn't exceptional at being wrong and learning from that, and regularly embracing the failure that comes with trying and doing new and hard things. It's such an important characteristic that it's honestly the thing I look for most when I'm interviewing people and talking to people. I look for the thing they don't know, and I look at how they handle that. Do they experiment with it? Do they ask questions? Are they okay with not knowing and working and then figuring out what didn't quite work as they try out these new things? And if you're not willing to fail, it's going to be really hard to work in this field because most of the success in engineering is defined by long series of failures. I have a video talking about the dozens of interviews I had to fail before I could get my first job and the hundreds of companies that didn't even accept my application. Every time I make some cool code or ship a project, that's after dozens of attempts to make it work and often hundreds of rewrites of individual lines to try and make it behave how I expect it to. I'm not saying every line of code I write is wrong. I'm saying most of them aren't perfect. And as I run into more problems, I can learn from those failures, adjust, grow, and find success. If you're not able to be proud and excited by failure and learn from it, it's going to be hard to find success in this field. But if you learn to love failure, because failure is a growth opportunity, that's when you're really going to find success in engineering, because days where you don't fail are days where you don't grow. It's really hard to grow as an engineer without hitting the pavement every once in a while. And I sincerely hope you take the time to fail a bit more and that you're excited about the failure the next time it happens. Preventing failure is way overrated. Embracing failure is criminally underrated. So go use this rant to justify why all software is buggy and engineers like Theo are bad. I don't care. The people who can actually benefit from this message heard it, and I appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to hear more about how I think about these types of things, I'll pin a video here about goal setting and how I think it's important to find success through goals that actually make sense as an engineer. I've wanted to do this rant for a while. I hope it hits hard. Appreciate each and every one of you for watching it. Peace, nerds.